Hey guys, welcome to the workshop. In the last video, I revealed the entire workshop to you guys. Leading up to that, I shot 12 project tutorial videos on how I turned this Tuff shed into my dream workshop. If you've been watching the series, thank you so much for sticking with me. I've had so many different questions asked along this series, and I thought I'd dedicate an entire video to answering some of those most asked questions. In my reveal video, I gave you guys the opportunity to ask some final questions. I also asked my Instagram audience what questions they had. So today is just dedicated to answering those questions and sitting down and chatting with you guys. So let's get into some questions. The first thing I want to address, and this was also a question, is what am I going to do about the sound issue? So this is a big workshop. There's a lot of echo, and that doesn't mesh well with trying to record YouTube videos. So some of you guys recommended installing sound panels on the wall. I did just order a little lapel mic that I can attach to my shirt. That'll be good for my tutorial videos. When I need to turn my back to the camera, you guys can still hear me. Today I just have a mic in front of me. This is what I usually use for my voiceovers, so hopefully this sounds a little bit better than the last video, but please bear with me as I figure out the audio. Installing some sound absorption panels would be great for my neighbors, so it's not so loud when I'm cutting and sanding, but that is maybe a project for down the road. Okay, so there are a bunch of questions regarding the actual Tuff shed, how much it cost, what type of shed we went with, the dimensions, permitting. So I'm just going to kind of group those questions into one. So we went with the Premier Pro Tall Ranch Tuff shed. We went with a no floor option. They have a floor or no floor option. If you do no floor, then you need to have concrete poured. And in my opinion, that looks the best. It looks like a permanent structure. So we decided to have concrete poured. Our shed is 16 by 22. That's 352 square feet. A few customizations that I really wanted with the shed was to do the scissor trusses, which added extra height. It really opens it up in here. We also customized the windows and doors. So in our house, we have the Craftsman style windows and doors with the grids, and Tuff Shed didn't offer that design, but they allowed me to buy my own windows and doors and have them install them, which was awesome. I just bought them from Home Depot. I stored them in our garage, and then once they put the shed up, they installed the windows and doors for us. Next question, and most asked, is how much did the workshop cost? So I broke down the entire cost in a spreadsheet, and you can find that linked below. I'm going to tell you the overall cost in a second, but if you want to see how everything is broken down, check out the spreadsheet below. The cost that I'm about to give includes the following things: concrete, the actual Tuff shed building, windows and doors, electrical, insulation, drywall, our mini split system, the tongue and groove on the ceiling, flooring, and then paint and trim. So everything to finish off the inside of the shed. I didn't include any customizations like the workbench, the pegboard, cabinets, countertops. I didn't include any of that stuff. So with the stuff that I just mentioned, that all cost $37,200. Like I mentioned in my reveal video, I did receive a discount on my Tuff shed. I received a few sponsored items, and that is all disclosed in the cost breakdown linked in the description below. So if you want to see that list in more detail, check out the spreadsheet below. There's some questions on permitting. So we did have to pull permits for the shed, but Tuff Shed took care of all of that process for us. We don't have an HOA, which is nice, so that's something to definitely consider if you're interested in doing a Tuff Shed. If you're wanting to do a Tuff Shed, give your local Tuff Shed a call, and they'll be able to assist you with those questions on permitting. Another thing to touch on with the cost of the Tuff Shed has an online design tool where you can customize your entire shed, and they have the price disclosed right on there. So you can see how much different customizations cost. So I'm going to add the link to that design tool in the description below. I'm also going to give you the name of my Tuff Shed contact. She is happy to answer any of your questions. So all of that information can be found in the description below. The next question is about Wi-Fi. What's our Wi-Fi situation? So fortunately, we didn't have to buy an extender or booster or anything. The shed is about 30 feet from the house, and our Wi-Fi is located on the back side of the house, so everything is in range. I've been working out here on my computer, my phone, our TV, everything works just fine. So we were very lucky with the Wi-Fi situation. Okay, so I have some questions on organization, what I plan to do with my large power tools. So I'm going to do a full video on workshop organization. I ordered a bunch of organizers that haven't come in yet, so I want to do a full tutorial on those different organizers. I've started to organize some of the tools in the cabinets, so I'll share a little sneak peek of some of the cabinets that I have organized. In my tall cabinet here, I have all of my hand tools. I have outlets behind these tall cabinets so I can charge all of my batteries. In this other tall cabinet, I have the shop vac and all of our painting and staining supplies. I still have tons of organizing to do, but I'll share more on that in the organization video. So in this corner of the shed, I have all of my big tools, like my miter saw, table saw, planer, routing table, and I plan to custom build stations for each of those big tools. But I kind of want to work in the space for a little bit and get a feel for what I need and figure out a layout for everything. So that will definitely come, and I'm sure I'll make some tutorials on each of those stations. I had a question on overhead outlets. So I do want to install a retractable extension cord if I need to plug anything in the center of the workshop. Other than that, I have outlets everywhere. I have them along the back wall, behind the tall cabinets, so I think I'm good there. All of my charging stations are inside the cabinets, which are nice and hidden. Here's a question on dust collection. I definitely need to figure that out. Devin and I have been kind of going back and forth trying to figure out what to do for dust collection. This is not just a workshop. We wanted it to be more of an extended living space. So if we have friends over or want to put a game on the TV, we want to kind of leave this space as a multi-functional space. So I really don't want to be getting it full of dust and having to deep clean it often. So I'm in between doing like a full-blown dust collection system in here, making sure that it collects every speck of dust, or taking some of my bigger, messier tools outside and leaving the mess out there. So definitely still have to figure out dust collection. If you guys have any recommendations or videos or suggestions regarding dust collection, I'm all ears. Leave any comments that you have below. When will we see the garage project and what does it look like now? So if you missed it, we are going to convert our current garage into a mudroom / laundry room / powder bathroom. The garage faces the back of the house, which is so weird. It's a 1-car garage, but I don't think we could actually even fit a car in there. That is where I've been doing my projects for the past couple of years, and it is a mess. We don't really have that much stuff, but these Florida homes really lack storage. So our garage filled up so fast, and it was near impossible to do any projects inside the garage. I was always having to drag out my big tools into the yard. I couldn't work on projects when it was raining or it was like super hot. So that was definitely a struggle, and this workshop is such a blessing. But we are excited to convert the garage. That was the plan with this whole workshop, was to get everything from the garage into the workshop and then convert that into usable square footage, which is going to increase the value of our home. Having the extra half bathroom is really going to increase the value, and it's going to be really nice to have a sink in there and a bathroom where I can just access from the backyard instead of having to go through the house. So that is a big project that I'll be sharing next year, and of course I'll have a bunch of project tutorials once that project starts. I had a question on solar projects. We aren't going to be in this house forever, so it's not going to be worth the investment, I don't think. But in our forever home, definitely would want to look into some solar options. Next question, what projects do you recommend doing yourself versus hiring out? I think that all depends on what you have for tools and what your skill level is. If you have the tools for all these projects, I say do it yourself. There is one project that I maybe don't recommend doing, and that is installing the mini split system. We did it successfully, but it was so stressful. It's an expensive system and there's so many things that could go wrong. We had to go out and find and buy some specialty tools, which a lot of people don't have. So that is probably one that I wouldn't recommend doing yourself. But if you do want to try and you're brave and maybe you have some of those tools, then by all means go for it and watch our tutorial. Other than that, I recommend hiring out electrical, plumbing, unless you're skilled in that trade or you have some experience. But everything else, I'm really glad that we did ourselves. The drywall was manageable. Taping and mudding takes some extra skill, so if you don't have those supplies, then I would maybe recommend hanging the drywall but hiring out the taping and mudding, because that can be very, very time consuming and messy if you don't do it right. We decided to go with tongue and groove board on the ceiling instead of drywall. This was a little bit more expensive, but it was easier to install. We're not having to tape and mud and sand above our head, so that's a good option if you're looking to do something yourself. Other than that, I really recommend just going for it, watching tutorials, watching our tutorials that we spent so much time on. Doing these projects for the first time in a garage or a shed or a workshop it's a great opportunity to learn new skills and try out new skills in a space that doesn't have to be 100% perfect. The last two questions: what was your favorite project and what would you do differently? So my favorite project was probably the work table and the pegboard. I really like designing and building furniture, and these really allowed me to get creative and get back into doing those types of projects, which I'm really excited for now that the workshop is finished. So I have a full tutorial on the table and the pegboard if you're interested in those DIYs. Last question: what would you do differently? I was just talking to Devin about this, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of things that pop up as I am working in here, but one of the first things that we noticed is storage for lumber. So I did end up hanging some racks above the door for some of the longer boards, but we really don't have anywhere to store plywood if we're doing a project that requires like 4x8 sheets of plywood. I wish I would have left some space on either side of the cabinets at the wall to slide in some plywood or some taller boards, because I think I had 4 inches of space to play with for my cabinets, and that would have been perfect to leave a few inches at each wall to slide some of the scrap wood into. So that's one thing I would have done differently, is plan for scrap wood and scrap material like that. Like I said, I'm sure I'm going to add to that list as I work on projects in here, but that is one of the main things. Okay, I think I answered most of your questions. If I didn't get to your question, I apologize. Feel free to ask them in the comments below. Thank you guys again for sticking with me through this Tuff Shed series. I'll be doing a workshop organization video soon, so stay tuned for that.